Hey, how's it going? So today we are going to cover someone that has been flying under the radar even for many people interested in philosophy. Today we're going to talk about this man right here, Xenophanes of Colophon. Born during the 570s BCE in Colophon and traveling the world until his demise at the ripe old age of 92, Xenophanes of Colophon was mostly a poet and theologian, but is also considered somewhat of a philosopher who took several jabs at Greek culture, especially ancient Greece's polytheism and their view of the gods and virtues. Now, if you paid attention just 2 seconds ago, you'll have noticed that I told you that he's only considered somewhat of a philosopher. The reason for that is that Xenophanes seldomly logically solidified his position, but rather just went, "And that's how it is, bitches!" Well, without the bitches part, of course. Anyway, let's have a look at what the man said. As touched upon earlier, Xenophanes is mostly known to be the first philosopher to openly criticize Greece's view of the gods, and questioned many cultural virtues in ancient Greece. He made fun of the pantheon of the Greeks and the clearly human flaws that the Greeks of his time imposed on their gods. Xenophanes realized and found it laughable that the gods behaved just as humans would and were envisioned to look just as humans do. He then went so far as to say that if cows had hands, their gods would look like cows, just as the Greek gods looked like the Greeks. He also openly critiqued Homer and Hesiod, who were known for their literary works which included the Greek depictions of the gods. And while one would think that he criticized religion altogether, that cannot be said with certainty, as the scripture that survived of him does not paint the picture of an atheist, but rather someone who didn't like the idea of gods that were based on human flaws. Xenophanes is more likely to have been some sort of mixture between a monotheist and a pantheist, meaning he most likely believed in a god or even several gods, but envisioned this god to be an entity that is either separate from the universe or is in fact the universe itself. So theologically speaking, Xenophanes was an open critic of the religious worldviews of the Greeks of his time, but he didn't stop there. Xenophanes also remarked that the virtues of the Greek society were highly questionable, being irked by the fact that athletes were celebrated as much as they are. He said that a state and society does not profit from athleticism as much as it would from educated, rational people and scientific achievements, and that the latter should be a priority if a society strives to prosper. He was definitely a pioneer in this regard already, but that's not quite where it ends. As many other philosophers, Xenophanes was also very curious about natural phenomena. This, combined with his skeptical attitude towards religion, led him to try and explain everything he saw with naturally occurring events. He orientated his views on the ones of the Milesian school, but tried to extend their views. Xenophanes postulated that besides the naturally occurring matter that everything is made of, the sun and its heat play a very important role in the cycle of things. Xenophanes was the first to observe that the sun and the ocean play key roles in the rain and weather cycle of the planet. He described how clouds form through evaporated water when it comes in contact with the heat of the sun, and also noted that while the sun plays a key role in this process, it too must have come from a cloud of some sorts, or still just is a very hot cloud. He then also said that all the stars must be hot clouds, and the moon must be a very compressed cloud. Basically, everything's clouds, yo. Anyway, I would end it right here, but one last thing I want to touch on is Xenophanes' stance on knowledge, because while he was certainly a very smart egg, remember I'm not listing all of his scientific observations, just the ones he was most known for. He was actually one, or if not the first philosopher, who not only thought but outright stated that true knowledge can never be obtained by any human, no matter how much evidence presents itself. He criticizes how people have blind faith in things, and was the first one to make a very strict distinction between belief and knowledge, and came forth with the idea that the truth is whatever holds the widest tray of evidence, even though it's never a complete truth, and changing evidence must change the view of the truth. For his time, this was truly revolutionary, and it would take a long while until this mindset became more accepted among philosophers. Now, as I've said before, Xenophanes died around 478 BC after a long and fruitful life, and I think it's a shame that he's often overlooked, even though people that are interested in ancient philosophy start to take notice of him, which I think is pretty cool. Hope I'll see you next time. If you have suggestions for the next video, leave them in the comments down below. May the gods be with you, and I hope I'll see you next time. Goodbye.